I'm like, thank God for another morning, cause every day I wake up, I'm on another journey. You should join me into a city where our pharaohs chosen. The Roman legions use their badges on us, put you in the casket, won't they? As if it matters, cause we kill each other faster, don't we? I know I heard you feel like AR don't my worldview, but nobody got shot for you got on curfew. Some broken buildings, but that strain that put you out of work too. Don't be Tuskegee, cause these V's don't always do what they say. Reps think they syphilis when really they just killing our race. I hate to mention our dementia, we forgetting our place. Became the center of disease by where we putting our faith. We'll pop another brother quicker than the pills that he takes. Can't understand our situation cause the thrills that we face. But I love every day, cause I get to do it again and help another navigating in this world full of sin. Okay, here's another one. Thank God for another day. If the devil try to plot, we gon' discover him. It don't matter what he plot, we'll find another way. Okay, here's another.
No, sir.
All right, Port City. Do you have any question, brother?
Yeah, I got a couple questions.
I like your background, man. Love your background. Loving the background.
Thank y'all for having me on the panel tonight. I appreciate everybody on here. I just got a question. Where do we find the Hebrew culture in West Africa?
Good question.
Before European had contact with us, and where do we find the Hebrew culture in the early Americas and in South America and the Caribbeans? Where does that culture transfer from Africa and get taken over? Like I haven't seen it. I've seen Yoruba, Igbo. I've seen several Vodun. I just don't see any presence of Hebrew. Can somebody answer that for me?
Yeah, it's there. Especially in South America.
Let me answer the brother real quick.
I guess I don't matter.
Let me answer real quick.
No, hold on, Judah. Apostle was talking. Apostle was talking.
No.
Okay.
Judah got all the information. I'm gonna let him handle it.
Go ahead, Apostle.
I said Judah got all the information.
Go ahead, Judah.
Shalom, my people, shalom. So the question that was presented that is supposed to stump every Hebrew Israelite is that where is the proof or history that there was Hebrews in the region of Africa or just throughout the world, the Caribbeans, such and so forth? So we gonna answer that today. We gonna start off with From Babylon to Timbuktu, a history of ancient races, including the Black Hebrews. The overview on Barnes and Noble says this carefully researched book is a significant addition to the vital fold of knowledge. It sets forth in a fascinating details the history from the earliest recorded times of black races of the Middle East and Africa. And it's important to what we get out of that is the Middle East, because that's where we were from before we were chased into Africa by Romans. Okay, keeping it going with that same point, this is Matthew 24:15. This is when we were actually in the Middle East before we got chased into Africa by the Romans. And this was a warning. This was approximately 60 plus years ahead of the time of the collapse of Jerusalem. In Yeshua, Christ, he warned us about the abomination of desolation, which was Rome at that time, and that we should flee into the mountains of Judea. Let's get it. It says, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. See, so this is just further proof of how we were actually Middle Easterns, the children of Shem, right? And we went into Africa from persecution. Okay, now this is a map of the mountain ranges in Israel, right? So you got 3 towards Syria, 1 towards the ocean, 2 towards Jordan, and 1 towards Egypt. All together is 7 mountain ranges. In this next text, I'm about to prove that we would not have went into the ones towards Syria. All right, it says, on this day in 70 CE, that's 70 years before Christ or before Yeshua, the Roman siege of Jerusalem ended as rebel forces in the city were vanquished. The siege and conquest of Jerusalem was the climax of the great revolt. which began 4 years earlier with a number of attacks by Jewish rebels in the land of Israel against Roman authorities. After Syrian-based legionnaires failed to put down the unrest, responsibility for quelling the rebellion fell to the Roman general Vespasian, accompanied by his son Titus. So seeing how the Syrian legionnaires were responsible for quelling the people of Israel, or the Hebrews, you can see why they would not have went into Syria. Now, if you want to learn more about that time, The Complete Works of Josephus is a great history book based off the history of Israel, or Yasharallah. All right. Now, to get back into his question, the man asked for proof of the history of Hebrewism around the world, right? So we just showed from Babylon and Timbuktu the proof of Hebrewism in West Africa. If he reads that book, this is The Lost 10 Tribes in the Promised Land. It's written by Ronald Sanders. This would prove, this is about the history of when they came over here and they saw the natives that were here and how they addressed them. It's interesting because the fairer skinned natives, the ones who had lighter skin, they considered them to be God's people, or Hebrews. There's even a mention of this where they had a Hebrew man speak Hebrew to the natives that were here. But while the darker skinned people, they considered them cannibalists or savages and different things like that. So this is a great book to read, which would give more information and more proof to prove his theory. Right? Where is the evidence? This is evidence that before white people ever came over here, there was Hebrews in America. Okay, now the next piece of evidence we're going into is the Black Madonna, right? The term Black Madonna or Black Virgin tends to refer to statues or painting in Western Christendom of the Blessed Virgin Mary and the infant Jesus, or Yeshua, where both figures are depicted as dark-skinned. Examples of Black Madonnas can be found in both Catholic and Orthodox countries. So this is all over Europe to prove that the influence of this started with black people. I don't subscribe to worshiping any idol of any type, rather it's black or white. So please don't bow to the idol. This is just more evidence to add in. I believe he mentioned the Caribbeans in the video where he said where was the history connecting any parts of America. We kind of went into that with the Ronald Sanders book. We also went to West Africa in the Middle East in the Timbuktu book. So this time we're going to read this. 800 ancient stones with Hebrew writings in Puerto Rico authenticated. A remnant of ancient stones, 20 of 800 made its way halfway across the world, solving a 3,500-year-old mystery. What did these stones whisper about pre-Columbian indigenous people of the island Puerto Rico? Right? So this is important because it's another piece of information factoring in, because he says, where is the history? Where is the proof that we were in these lands? And why can't Hebrews answer this? And I get that you got to reach left, right, and to grab this information to pull it in. But today we're going to do it for the brother. Now the next artifact was, it says, ancient Hebrew writing found in America for the Judeans. Right? The background information: the Batcrete stone was discovered by Mr. John W. Emmert in an undisturbed grave mound. Number 3 of these mounds found together along the Little Tennessee River near the mouth of Bat Creek in 1889. So this is just more proof of ancient artifacts that was found in America coming from the Hebrew people. So he asked, where is the evidence to prove that the Hebrews were in America, or were in Europe, or were in Africa, or were everywhere we say, to prove that we are the people? And he said, this is the question that stumps the Hebrews. Now this is the final thing I'm going to bring out today. This is the Newark Holy Stones. It refers to 5 stone artifacts inscribed with Hebrew letters said to have been found in association with various ancient mounds in and around Newark, Ohio, between 1860 and 1865. The so-called keystone and the Decalogue stone, figure 1, were first to be uncovered and are curated by the JHM. And the reason, like, I just brought this out, so hopefully if people are confused, they'll get this information and it'll make it more understandable how you could prove who we are in history, and hopefully they'll do the research. Now, for the brother, I get like he's talking to people who saying that, you know, who are Hebrews or Israelites, but what he's not getting is Hebrews and Israelites is a race. That don't mean you're knowledge just because you're born that way. That's your bloodline. You're not born black. You're born brown or different shades and different colors, different pigmentations. You're not born black. You're born a Hebrew or an Israelite. So just because you stump some Hebrews or Israelites with that question just means that they're not well versed. They're not well studied. That's all that means. So it's not like you're stumping the entire people. It's almost like they try to make embarrassment to the movement, and we got to stop doing that as people with the same color, as people with the same problems and issues, even if we don't share the same color. We got to stop doing that. Come together, y'all. All right, so to end this video out, I'm gonna play the rest of the first clip of the video that I played. We answered his question for him, but I am gonna let show how he had the brothers he was speaking to kind of stuck, and play the rest of that video out. And I just want to point out, just because those brothers couldn't give him the answer on the history don't mean that they're not well versed. They might be well versed in the scriptures, just not in the history of the world or the history of certain areas in the world. So on that note, I just want to say Kaula Haya by Shimei, which is all praises to the Most High in the name of his son, and Barakatah. Bless y'all.
Give up. Go ahead, Judah.
I'm going to yield to Judah since he just ignored
Okay,
me.
I was going to say, my bad, Apostle. No, my bad. I'm sorry.
No,
Elder,
go ahead, bro. You got the information. Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to ask, I don't know why these guys keep asking the same question. Me, Elder Yara, and others have repeatedly shown. And we're telling you that some of us, we begin to wane in our culture. So you're saying, well, where was this culture? When we went to Africa, we begin to stop.
Yo, one person talking, man.
We begin to wane from our culture. So you go over there looking for Zeke, Jill, David, and all that. That wasn't going on. We were already, we forsook our heritage. So that's why we keep showing you all these sources of these European travelers going into West Africa. They kept saying there's these black Jews, these Israelites amongst the native quote unquote Africans, and we were treated. This is during the time of the slave trade. So I don't know why y'all keep asking the same question. Like, bro, cut it out, bro. Like, we ain't no.
Nah, but they keep saying Jews, not Israelites. They're saying the word Jews. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. I see. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. That.
Yeah,
Well,
Judah, let me take this part. Let me take this part. Let me take this answer. Now, like I said, Israelites has become a topic of conversation today. In the 1800s and in the 1600s and in the 1500s, the emphasis was on Jew. There was they didn't make a difference between the white man Jew and the black man Jew, because the white man Jew was insignificant and they understood his place. He came later. He is a convert. So in Portugal, when they
hold up. You said who's a convert, brother?
The white man Jew converted.
And the black man Jew is not converted?
No, he's not.
So you're not a convert? You're not converted?
No, we are from the tribe of Shem. We're from the heritage of Shem.
Okay.
The European is from the heritage of Japheth. And not to say that Japheth was a white man. He was probably an albino. I'm not saying that. But
what the hell is going on? Stop, Apostle. You just